Iannella, I will chair the hearing this afternoon. I'd like to read a letter dated October 5th. Dear councilors, I'm pleased to nominate Christopher Phillips to the position of Clerk Magistrate of the Boston Municipal Court, Brighton Division. Sincerely, Charles Baker. Governor, I know you have, Mr. Phillips, some distinguished people who are here today, and they know they're not going to speak too long because we do have a hearing coming up, but we will hear from my good friend. What a great job he's doing at the BMC. Phenomenal job. Daniel Hogan.
The Chairman, thank you so much, and through you to the members of this distinguished body. My friend Chris Phillips and I walked into high school together more years than I wish to acknowledge. 22 years ago, I sat in the seat that he is in right now. So I think that I know a little bit about this position. And Attorney Phillips has the temperament, the disposition, and the compassion necessary to not only fulfill his obligations, but he will serve with distinction. And if this body gives its advice and consent, Attorney Phillips' tenure, you will never have a reason to regret that vote. So I appreciate your time, Mr. Chairman, and through you to the members of this.
Thank you very much. Next, very quickly, Councilor.
I just want to say that was my proudest vote 22 years ago.
I haven't had much of a vote since that time, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, Mr. Clerk. Next, we'll hear from Patty Vaughn Murphy, Assistant Clerk Magistrate for Civil Business at the BMC.
Mr. President, council members, my name is Patty Vaughn Murphy. I was a trial court employee at the Boston Municipal Court Central Division for 40 years. I retired as first assistant clerk magistrate for civil business in 2020. I am pleased to speak on behalf of Christopher Phillips' nomination as clerk magistrate at the Brighton Division today. When Chris joined the clerk's office in 2006, I was immediately impressed by his willingness to learn, work ethic, passion for public service, and commitment to making a difference. Chris began his career in the small claims department. He quickly understood how to balance assisting pro se litigants without dispensing legal advice, and soon built a reputation for being patient and respectful when conducting magistrate hearings before rendering fair and impartial judgment. From small claims, Chris went on to master every criminal session from arraignment to trial. Due to his organizational skills, everyone from the judge to bar counsel would sigh with relief when they saw Chris in a session. They know that cases will be called and disposed of efficiently, no matter how heavy the docket may be. Chris was also instrumental in the launching of specialty courts such as Veterans Court and Gun Court. Moving on to the civil side, Chris learned the complicated rules and procedures of civil business, in addition to civil commitments, 209As, and harassment prevention orders. He strives for excellence and takes great pride in every task. There is not a function he cannot do in the office or the court. From conducting show cause hearings to reviewing arrests and search warrants, even learning bookkeeping on the book is retired. As Chris's supervisor for 7 years, he was the one clerk I always counted on to make the correct judgment in a challenging case with care, expertise, and integrity. I also observed how he mentored the younger clerks, teaching and listening to support staff, availing himself to answer questions or address issues at the counter or on the phone. On a personal note, I have never seen a more devoted son when his father, Eddie, became ill. During this challenging time, Chris took him to every appointment, managed his daily needs, always being a loving husband and father, and kept a sense of humor. As a final act to honor his father, Chris took care of his father's beloved dog, Gunny, until Gunny passed away from a sudden illness. Chris has earned respect and admiration from all those around him by dedicating 37 years to the United States Armed Forces Army Reserve, holding the rank of colonel. In 2020, Chris was promoted to first assistant clerk of the Central Division. Holding such a large office during COVID was no easy feat, but it honed his management skills even further. I feel blessed to count Chris Phillips as a friend. Chris is a leader, a progressive thinker, and a problem solver. He has built a solid foundation to take on this key position for the past 16 years. I can't think of a more qualified, experienced, well-suited candidate with the proper disposition and temperament than Chris Phillips. as Clerk Magistrate for the Brighton Division. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That will exhaust the folks who want to speak on your behalf. Is there anyone here who wants to speak in opposition? There being no one in opposition, you have the floor now, but before we hear from you, if you have family members or folks here that you want to introduce, now's the time.
At this time, I'd like to introduce my mother in the corner, Alice Phillips. To her right, my left, is my wife, Cheryl Ann, and next to my wife is my son, Michael. My brothers could not be here today, and as you know, my father has passed. So,
Thank you. Now we'll hear from you.
thank you, sir. Good afternoon. I'd like to thank Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, for nominating me as the Clerk Magistrate of the Brighton Division of the Boston Municipal Court. I'd also like to thank Legal Counsel Bob Ross and Executive Director of the JNC, Lauren Green, the members of the JNC, Joint Bar, and the members of this body, and my witnesses, Dan Hogan, Clerk Magistrate of the Boston Municipal Court, and Patty Wong Murphy, a longtime friend and former ACM at the Boston Municipal Court. I'd further like to thank Mr. Hogan for his leadership and confidence in my abilities to be a leader in his office. I'd also like to recognize my father, as stated, could not be here, who passed away 7 years ago. He was always very proud of me and my brothers and everything we did, and ensured that we would live a better life than he. He was a great father, and I wish he could be here with me today. I'd like to recognize some of my colleagues who are here today. I'd like to thank First Justice David Donnelly for coming over from the Brighton Division of the BMC. I look forward to hopefully working with you someday. First Justice John McDonald from the East Boston Division of the BMC. I spent 8 years of school with him, 4 years of high school and 4 years of college. First Justice Coffey from the Boston Municipal Court Central Division. I thank you for being here today. And Clerk Magistrate from the Juvenile Court, Donna Champoli. Plus my colleagues from the Boston Municipal Court Central Division's office. That being said, as I said to Councilor Iannella the other day, in the military, when we brief senior leaders, we're told to be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. So I hope I'll succeed. Great advice.
Thank you.
I have been an assistant clerk magistrate at the Boston Municipal Court Central Division for 16 years. These past 2.5 years, I've been the first assistant clerk, responsible for managing the criminal and civil divisions of the clerk's office during the pandemic. A tough task for all of us, but one I believe we handled successfully. Upon the court's opening fully to the public, the only area we were behind were the jury trials. In my tenure at the BMC, I've had the opportunity to work every aspect of the clerk's office on both criminal and civil side, including understanding the fiscal responsibilities of the clerk. I have enjoyed my time at the Central Division and believe I have what it takes to manage the Brighton Division of the BMC. In addition to my time as a clerk, I'm in my 37th year in the military. Good 14 years as an enlisted Marine with the 25th Marines here in Massachusetts, Fort Devens. And I received a commission in the Army back in 2000 and served 20 years as a judge advocate, advising commanders and supporting soldiers. In 2020, I transferred to the Army Civil Affairs Command and currently lead a team of functional specialists on the Judiciary and Legal Systems team, which supports activities in the European Command. I was recently promoted to the rank of colonel. I feel I have the right background, the experience, and the temperament to be the next clerk magistrate of the Brighton Division of the BMC. I thank the members of this council, and again, I hope you to receive your vote.
Thank you very much. At this point, Councilor Eileen Duff, do you have any questions?
I really don't have many questions for you at all. Your resume, we had a great talk, and a long talk, and, you know, honestly, I'll be very transparent. Representative Paracella, who was also a reserve officer and JAG, and probably knows more about veteran issues than most, spoke highly on your behalf. You and I spoke a lot about your experience working with veterans, which is really important. And I'm pleased to see someone of your caliber come and apply for this job. But I also have to say, you kind of, when I started asking about the Marine Corps, and we started talking about the 4th Marine Division, you know, that division, I think that may have surprised you that I knew it was a reserve division, because after World War II, so many of the men were lost, and it was retired. But that's the division my father served in the South Pacific. So I don't know, he's a BC guy too, so maybe something was there for you. So I have no further questions. I think you're eminently qualified. You've got, not just the education, but you've got the demeanor. And I think you seem, and I think I'm right, to be a very level-headed and even-handed fellow.
Thank you very much. Counselor Kennedy.
I don't have any questions. We spent a good hour and a half in my office the other day. I had a long conversation about your background. The only thing I want to do is thank you for your service in the military as well as public service you've dedicated yourself to throughout your career. I've dealt with you over the years. Everything that Councilor Duff just said is dead on in terms of your demeanor and qualifications. I agree with that. And I'm going to follow your example by being brilliant and
Be brief, be
Brief and
brilliant.
I'm done. Thank you. We'll give you a brief.
Thank you very much.
I'll take it.
Counselor DiPaolo.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I don't have any concerns, and a couple of my colleagues have spoken very highly of you to me. So thank you for your service, and I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
Counselor Mary Hurley.
Thank you. Do you have any other children?
No, ma'am, just the one son.
Okay. Because there was a young lady sitting back there and I was saying, man, if that's his daughter, he's going to be in such deep trouble. And we had a conversation. I basically said, looked at your application, couldn't be a better fit. Absolutely couldn't be a better fit. I think you're going to do a great job and I thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I have no questions.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Counselor Joseph Ferreira.
It's going to sound a little redundant, Colonel, but thank you. And you have a stellar resume. You have big fans in the council here with Councilor Iannella, Councilor Kennedy, Councilor Jubenville that all know you pretty well. And you and I had a long, lengthy conversation the other day, and you have my support next week. Thank you.
Can I just add something to that?
Yes, very quickly.
Very quickly, Councilor Iannella has also been a huge supporter, your councilor, in this whole process. He's been a strong advocate.
Thank you. Counselor Robert Jubenville.
I reiterate what my counselors have said about you, and I know from seeing you in the court how good you are as a clerk. I couldn't ask you any questions. You know much more than I do about clerk. So Iannella has been a big fan of yours, too.
Thank you. Counselor Devaney.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you for all the time you afforded me. It was really a pleasure. And as a widow of a Marine, I give you for switching to the Army. Okay. I do have one of my sons was in the Army, so you're covered. So tell me, you've had military service. How does that experience being in the military and your ability to be on the bench?
Well, being in the military, it's twofold. So one thing is I'm leading troops, so you're management, it's management. So you're managing troops from small units, 5 to 10 people, up to 100 to 150 people. So you need to have that personnel skill to deal with individuals, employees. But at the same point, 20 years, I was the JAG, so I have legal experience, which I furthered when I went over to the Civil Affairs Command, working in the Judiciary and Legal Systems team. So I'm doing a dual process here. I'm still doing the legal work, but I'm also managing troops and getting more and more responsibility as I progress in the ranks.
And have you had legal experience in the military that you have been connected with?
I've had legal experience by advising commanders on regulations, and I used to assist soldiers, wills, powers of attorney, things of that nature.
So all told, you've had 30 years really in public service, right?
In the military, 37.
Oh, wow.
37.
Wow. So you did apply once, and tell me about that experience, because you were the JNC approved, but the governor didn't?
No, I applied for the BMC Brighton, believe it or not, 4 years ago. And another individual got that, and I had made it all the way through the legal counsel. And as they say, I was on the desk, and that term expired. And then I reapplied when Brockton opened up, and Brockton filled up, Brighton opened up, and I seemed to come full circle.
Thank you for reapplying, because unfortunately, sometimes the political jump the line. And I really am glad when someone reapplies, and you have. So what do you see, I think that you've been involved with drugs and all of that, that you're seeing cases. What do you think is the biggest obstacle that you're going to find in the court that, I'm always saying that we don't have enough centers or people in drug addicts. And I've lost two friends of mine have lost some, and we just don't see, I think it's about 3. So what do you see that you could do about when you have someone that's drug addicted to have a long-term?
Well, to use the services that are available, and hopefully there's more available. For example, with the Veterans Treatment Court, we actually established a program where we brought in a bunch of different agencies to assist these veterans that had, some of them had drug problems, alcohol problems, some of them are homeless. So you ask the services that we have available in the trial court, and maybe reach out to other sources.
Tell us about the Veterans Court. How instrumental are they in helping?
They're very helpful. I think it should be utilized a lot more than it is, but we set that up about 10 or 11 years ago. Within the BMC Central Division, we would take defendants/veterans from all the other divisions and bring them in and give them the help and services that they deserve. If they qualified and finished the whole program, 18 months later, the matter would be resolved.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm so pleased that you were, that you reapplied and that you were chosen. And I'm happy because you're bringing life experience. To have someone sitting in that chair that brings life experience, and that's important. You have to walk in someone's shoes to understand when they're before you, so I'm really pleased. And I like your age. I think you have it all together. So I'm very pleased that you came through.
Thank you.
And thanks again. I really enjoyed seeing you.
Same here. Thank you.
It was a little distance to come.
It wasn't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor. I don't have any questions. We had a lengthy conversation at my office. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I think you're a great fit for the Brighton District Court. And what a sponsor, in Dan Hogan. Nobody's better than Clerk Hogan. He's done an outstanding job at the BMC. If you can do half as good as Dan Hogan, you're going to do a great job. No questions from me. When your name comes before the council next week, I'll be more than happy to support you. That will conclude the hearing. Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.